A married father of two in San Francisco, California says that he can no longer live comfortably off of $230,000 a year. And he breaks down exactly why. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's on a topic that I don't talk about too often, and that's personal finance. Now, obviously, I'm a big proponent of learning about, your personal finances and, trying to take personal responsibility for the financial situation that you're in. And I did that through real estate investing, but, I like to tell people that a financial education is the most important thing that you can do. Even if you don't make a good, large income, you can live a very comfortable life if you are able to pay all your bills on time, if you have, very little debt and large savings. So, you'll be just fine. And, there's stories out there of people there was a janitor, I believe, that retired with $8 million in investments when they retired. And it was wow, that's insane. But that is through a person who knew what they were doing when it came to saving and investing and, their personal finances. So when I read this story at first, it seemed kind of okay, well, they're going to dogpile this guy. All the big websites, everybody's going to jump on this guy and, they're going to criticize him, say that his spending is out of control, say that, he's being unrealistic and all that, right? Well, I see it from a little bit different perspective. I see it from the perspective of this guy. He probably knows what he's doing. He probably is going to be just fine. And, they're using the name of the article to try to, garner attention for the article, but kind of at the same time teach people what they need to do in order to make sure their financial situation is okay. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So before I even read it, right, let me know what you think of a guy who makes $230,000 a year and saying that's not enough. And I want you to keep in mind, too, that this guy, one of the first things I said was he lives in San Francisco, California. Notoriously expensive place to live, okay? One of the most expensive, if not the most expensive place to live in the entire country. So, yeah, you're going to need a lot of money to be able to stay there and have a family. So let's get into the article. It's really interesting, and I'll let you know what I think as we go through it. This article is coming from the NewYorkPost.com, and it says, "My family of four can no longer live comfortably on $230,000 a year. Here's how much the American dream really costs." Yeah, and I'm sure you're interested to know what the breakdown of what he's spending that money on is. So let's get into it. Searching for the American dream? Be prepared to fork over nightmarish sums. A former Goldman Sachs analyst says his family of four needs to earn more than $230,000 per year in order to live comfortably in California's San Francisco Bay Area. Sam Dogan, now 46, hit headlines in 2012 after retiring at the age of 34 with a $3 million net worth. Since that time, the father of two, who has also penned the best-selling book, Buy This, Not That, How to Spend Your Way to Wealth and Freedom, has been living off passive income from stocks, bonds, and real estate. But in a candid new post for his website, Financial Samurai, Dogan revealed that he recently cashed out a considerable portion of his investments to purchase a property for his young family in struggling but still pricey San Francisco. So yeah, the original, what you get from the article is, oh man, well this is somebody who probably, they don't know how to manage their finances. But when you dig into it, this guy's actually written a book on personal finance called Financial Samurai. So this guy, he knows what he's talking about. He, has things well planned out. And if he retired with $3 million back in 2012, I wouldn't be surprised if he has probably not doubled that amount by now. And he's, he has a much larger sum of money at this point, 12 years later. So yeah, he's 46 years old and he's been retired since he was 34 for the last 12 years. I can't say I'm not jealous, okay? But, part of the reason why he needs so much money is the area of the country that he's living in. And San Francisco, like I said, is extremely expensive. My guess is that he chooses to live there. He knows his budget, he knows how much it costs and all that, but he chooses to live there because he has family, friends, connections there, right? This is the reason why people stay in these super expensive places. They want to stay there because they want to be near their family and friends, etc. I personally chose to move away from my relatives, and it's a burden. It's a burden to go see your family at Christmas time or for them to come see you. But in terms of moving out a place that is very expensive, it might be much more important to do such a thing if you don't have the sort of net worth this guy has. If he's worth at least $3 million and he has, enough to live in San Francisco comfortably, he has a lot of money. But somebody who makes my income, which is much lower than that, might have to say, hey, Sacramento, a few hours away, is looking a lot more reasonable, or Reno, Nevada, or Las Vegas, Nevada, or wherever. Now, the financial guru says his investments will generate just $230,000 before tax, while his annual expenses are projected to top $288,000 in 2024. To net that sum, Dogan estimated he would have to earn approximately $420,000 a year before taxes were taken out. Dogan declared that he was not asking for sympathy or empathy, freely admitting that he lives a solidly upper-middle-class life with his wife and 2 children. However, he broke down his estimated annual expenses, saying that they would be comparable to those of other 2-parent, 2-children families living in similarly expensive locales, including New York City. Okay, so yeah, if you are a person who wants to raise a family in a very large, very expensive city, it's going to be extremely expensive, because you're probably going to have to send your kids to private school. The housing costs are going to be absolutely outrageous. The taxes in these sort of places is absolutely outrageous. The groceries, the utilities, everything costs more when you live in a more expensive place. And that's this guy. It's his personal choice. I'm not going to say that if I was wealthy enough, I wouldn't live exactly where I would want to live. Okay. Like if I was wealthy enough, my dream locale is Miami, Florida. That's where I would have a beautiful upper middle class home there for my family, right? Which would cost me millions of dollars. And I don't have that kind of money. Okay. So to have the same lifestyle, I have to live in Omaha, Nebraska based on what kind of money I make. So I have a great lifestyle here in Omaha, Nebraska, right? But I could not afford that lifestyle in one of these major cities. This guy, he can. That's because he's doing so well. And that's why he's not asking for sympathy or empathy, because he knows, hey, he's a multi-millionaire. He's been retired for 12 plus years. He's just living it up, enjoying his life, and he wants to live where he wants to live. And you know what? I'm all for it. So I'm not going to criticize him for needing that much money to be able to live this sort of lifestyle, because it's just a fact. It's just a fact. When, I'm walking around New York City and I'm looking at this place and I see, the people who have families there, well, you got to have real money to be able to raise a family up there. There's no, when you're on Manhattan Island and you've got 3 kids, it is not going to be cheap. It's just not. The budget is based off my ideal lifestyle for a family of 4 in a big city, he wrote. Of course, there are areas to cut, but overall, it is a realistic and comfortable lifestyle. Dogan's annual budget includes $80,400 for private grade school tuition for his 2 kids, as well as $24,000 for healthcare costs. He estimates food expenses will top $26,000 this year, while housing expenses, including property taxes, maintenance, and insurances, are estimated at a whopping $68,400. Because both my wife and I don't have day jobs, we have to pay for unsubsidized healthcare insurance ourselves, which costs $2,300 a month in premiums, Dogan explained. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not self-employed right now, okay? I have a wife, I have a daughter, and myself, right? And the healthcare costs are, I mean, they're absolutely outrageous. I mean, this guy's paying $2,300 a month just for healthcare. Okay, for a family of four. But he's essentially self-employed. He says he doesn't have a actual regular day job, right? But he is an author, so he probably has some sort of residual income coming in from author. I don't know if he does any sort of freelance or if he runs his own business or if he works part-time or whatever, right? But I'm assuming that he has additional income coming in from other sources than just the savings that he had when he retired. So, obviously, because he is essentially self-employed, he has to pay for all of his insurance costs just straight out of pocket, and that's going to be extremely expensive. And at $2,300 a month, I mean, we're talking about darn near $30,000 a year just for healthcare. Then we throw on top of that private school costs are crazy, but like the public schools in San Francisco, from what I hear, are not very good. So I understand why, if you are going to live in a major city like San Francisco, you'd want to make sure that your kids were going to the best school possible, and that means private school in their case. So $80,400, that's, he has two kids, so that's $40,000 per kid per year. Okay, think about that. $40,000 per kid is, what is that, like $3,000, more than $3,000 a month. That is insane, dude. Per kid. It's hard to imagine for me. Like, I checked out private schools for my daughter here because we were considering sending my daughter to a private Christian school, and for starting in kindergarten, right? And I looked at the cost. It turned out to be just a hair. I think it was about $800 a month. Okay, right at $800 a month. And to me, I thought that was too much. Fortunately, I live in a very, very, very good school district. And I said, well, I have the option to send my daughter to public school, so that's what I'm going to be doing. But imagine if you lived in a place where there were no really, really good public schools, and you'd have to send your kid to a garbage school if you did. Well, then your only option would be to move to somewhere where they do have good schools. Okay, so this is the cost of doing business in a big city. Okay, and he's got the money. The other big expense he talked about there was his housing costs, which were almost $70,000 a year. That's to be expected. Okay, we're talking about San Francisco, California. Here, it's not going to be cheap. $70,000 a year. Let me bust out my calculator real quick and do a quick breakdown of how much that would be, because I'm a little tired and I'm not good at math. $70,000 a year divided by 12 months is about $5,833 per month for housing costs, right? Which, I honestly expected it to be a lot higher. I mean, I'm paying over $3,000 a month here in Omaha, Nebraska. And so just to say that his housing costs are about twice as much as mine, that's really not as bad as I would have expected. So, I expected it to be more like $10,000 a month, but hey, like I said, there's different measures. I don't know how big of a home he lives in, but it is what it is. But it sounds like he does own a home in San Francisco if he's paying property taxes, maintenances, and insurance. So let me continue. As for San Francisco's wildly expensive real estate prices, the financial guru stated, "The good thing about living in San Francisco is that there are so many career and money-making opportunities. There's just too much excitement to leave to a lower cost area of the country to try to save money at the moment." I disagree. But remember, this is coming from my perspective, okay? He talks about the money-making opportunities, right? And one of the places where there were the most opportunities for me was when I lived in Arizona. And Arizona is right next to California, much, much, much less expensive. And a place like Phoenix is just, it is huge. It is a huge, huge area, like I think it's like 5 million people live in the metropolitan area of Phoenix. It's a bigger metro area than San Francisco is. You know, maybe not the entire Bay Area, but the San Francisco part of the Bay Area is actually smaller than the Phoenix metropolitan area. And with it being so close, you know, you're just a short flight away or a short drive away. You know, housing costs are like half of what you would get, what you would pay in the Bay Area, and you actually have really, really nice homes there. But, you know, I mean, in my opinion, that's what I would do. But keep in mind, right, I personally think that this more has to do with having friends and family in the area and wanting to stay close to them. And that's an important factor, you know, like you want your kids to grow up near their family. You know, you want them to be able to see grandma and grandpa and, you know, your brothers and sisters. And, you know, you want to be able to keep in close contact with your friends. And, you know, maybe in terms of the money that he does make outside of, you know, like, because he's not actually working a job, so maybe in terms of the contracting positions or the business that he runs, maybe it is important to be there. And you know, I don't know, that's not, you know, they said he was a financial analyst and that, you know, he wrote a book, and maybe that's necessary for the business he's in. But in my mind, I just think to myself, hey, the internet has made it so that we don't have to be located in these little specific areas anymore in order to do business there, okay? And with social media especially, the world is open to you living pretty much anywhere. And that's my opinion. That's my opinion. I can't say it's true or not, but in his case specifically. But anyway, interesting article. I'll put a link to it in the description down below. Put a comment. Let me know what you think of it costing this guy, you know, him needing more than $230,000 a year to live comfortably in a major metropolitan area.